Good morning, Chairman. I'm here and pleased today to present to you ACA 5, the California Act for Economic Prosperity and Opportunity for All. This measure will allow California's efforts to take meaningful steps to minimize inequality and promote economic fairness for all. ACA 5 seeks to prevent continued discrimination against women and people of color by allowing gender, racial, and ethnic diversity to be considered as one of the many factors in public employment, public contracting, and public education. In 1996, voters passed Proposition 209, which ended the use of race and gender-conscious decision-making in California public sector. This change put California a step back from the nation, being only one of 8 states that have this ban on equal opportunity, and serves as an impediment to local and state policies to address the economic and social disparities experienced by women and people of color. According to a 2015 study, women-owned and minority-owned businesses conservatively lose over $1.1 billion a year due to the passage of Proposition 209. California went from being one of the top-performing states in the country in the early 1990s with our Caltrans disadvantaged business enterprise contracting to one of the 2 worst-performing states relative to its diversity, putting it in the company of states with much less diversity, such as Nebraska and Vermont. Employment discrimination remains persistent. According to recent research, 27% of Asian Americans, 31% of Native Americans, 33% of Latinos, and 56% of African Americans have experienced discrimination when applying for jobs. Women and people of color also withstand high levels of discrimination when seeking promotions or equal pay. California's public employment data reveals that women and people of color continue to be underrepresented and undervalued, especially in high-level executive positions that come with increased responsibility, policy implementation, control, and compensation. In addition, several research demonstrates that the most representative and reflective of our civil rights servants and public agencies are, the more responsive government tends to be. Research demonstrates that minority police officers were less likely than white officers to characterize minority citizens as hostile or indifferent to law and order. Black social workers were more likely than their white co-workers to perceive black clients favorably. It is also widely recognized that teacher diversity can have profound effects on closing the achievement gap and student success for students, especially students of color who make up more than 3/4 of our student body. But we remain at a crisis point with our failure to recruit and retain teachers of color, especially women, in critical fields like math, science, and technology because of the barriers of Prop 209. Currently, Prop 209 stands in the way of California even giving public dollars to programs like science camps for girls. Such programs would have dropped their focus on girls or rely exclusively on private donations. Structural barriers such as Prop 209 have left women and communities of color with a relentless wealth gap, more vulnerable to the virus, at higher risk of unemployment, and with fewer investment opportunities for small businesses. California deserves more than just a recovery from COVID-19. We must commit to working toward a stronger, more equitable California, one that fully remedies the disproportionate harm that COVID-19 has done to women and people of color in the state. To respond, we need intentional and proportionally targeted remedies to help these communities in a way that Prop 209 largely forbids. For nearly 25 years, Prop 209 has blinded our laws and institutions to the barriers faced by women and people of color. It has hurt and not helped Californians by prohibiting time-tested equal opportunity programs like affirmative action that bolster education and job opportunities for women and people of color. Data suggests that we are not currently living in a colorblind society. Instead, the data suggests that we live in a deeply unequal society where the tools to compete in society are unevenly distributed and distributed in a manner that perpetuates inequality between races and gender at all levels of class and society. The collective actions we have seen around the world represents an urgent call for systemic change. California voters should be given the opportunity to revisit and express their views about remedies for gender bias and disparity with the choice of removing the ban on equal opportunity. ACA 5 has the support of over 250 diverse civil rights organizations, labor, business, and community-led organizations, including the Chinese Americans for Affirmative Action, the Equal Justice Society, the Ed Trust West, AFSCME 3299, National Association of Women Business Owners, California State Employees with Disabilities, and the California Nurses Association and Hospital Association, to just name a few. Here to testify on behalf and in support of the bill over the phone is Vin Pan, co-executive director of the Chinese for Affirmative Action, and Karen Lieberger, who's the president of the ASME Local 3290.